What is personal branding and why is it so important? Most people have heard the term personal branding, but everyone seems to have a different definition for what it is. Some people think it's about looking good online. Some people think it's about growing a social media following. In practice, these definitions fall short. So I've got another episode that goes much deep into the definition of personal branding. I'm going to link to it right up there. You'll learn what personal branding is and how to build it. But in this episode, I want to focus on the results and why it's critical for building thought leadership. What if you had more leads than you could handle? What if your leads trusted you before they ever spoke with you? What if your sales conversations became easier? What if you could reduce competition and become the obvious choice in your industry? What if people consistently found you wherever they searched for answers on your subject? We're going to talk about all of this, including category ownership, search dominance, referral quality leads, speaking opportunities, credibility, trust, and why the right personal brand can transform the trajectory of your business. Let's dive right in. So let me really set the stage here for what's possible if you do personal branding correctly, or what you're missing if you don't do it correctly. Now, personal branding has three parts. Okay, we're going to talk about all three of those parts. You have to do all three in order to get the results that I'm going to share. Okay, so the results that I'm going to share are: you can completely own your category. You can be the number one authority in your space, right? When people are searching for your help, people that don't know that you exist, but they're searching online for answers and for help, they will find you every time if you do personal branding correctly. Another way of wording this is think about all the competition you have in your space all around the world. This means you can be the top competitor, or you can rise above all your competitors if you do personal branding correctly. So let's talk about what the three parts of personal branding are. You've got your thought leader image, your thought leader messaging, and your thought leader positioning. Okay? So again, I'm going to link to the episode up there about personal branding if you want to go into more depth on those three parts. When you get clear on your messaging, then you can focus on your positioning as what category you want to own. You truly can become the owner of that category. And once you own it, it is really hard for somebody else to dethrone you. This isn't like website SEO of the past. This is owning your category everywhere. So learning how to do this is pretty important. And again, in this episode, we're focusing on what are all the advantages. Why do you want to go through the work of building thought leadership and going through the work of building your personal brand? Well, the first huge advantage is that instead of chasing clients, you have more leads than you can handle. I mean, that's a pretty big benefit, right? So instead of all the cold direct messages, instead of the networking, instead of the countless follow-up where you get ghosted, instead of the paid ads that interrupt people and generate low quality leads. So again, just replace chasing with having people find you and having more leads than you can handle. I mean, lead generation itself is one of the biggest goals for so many thought leaders and businesses in general. How do we generate leads? How can we create something that's scalable? How do we create something that's sustainable? How do we filter out poor quality leads or leads that don't convert? How can we get high quality leads? Now, the best leads that you can ever get, and I think we'll both agree on this, are referrals. When a past client or somebody that knows you really well makes a connection, makes an introduction, and you have a conversation with that person, it's wonderful because they obviously made the connection because your past client or whoever knew that they could use your help or knew that they had a need, and they passed along trust because your current client already trusts you. This new potential client already has that trust. Referrals are amazing. The conversations go completely different. You don't have to overcome objections. You don't have to break down any barriers. They don't have their defenses up like you pushed an ad in front of them and they know you're trying to sell something. You just don't have to worry about any of that. So your sales conversations are different with referrals. Well, that's why personal branding is so valuable. When you own a category, you actually build a relationship with them first before you have a conversation with them. So the sales conversations are completely different than if you have a paid ads campaign. Paid ads really interrupt people and they cause people to put up their defenses. Now they're skeptical, and every sales conversation you have has to overcome that. You have to build trust after you start having that conversation. But if you build a personal brand and you do it right, and you're now positioned as a thought leader, trust is built before you have that conversation. The next advantage I'm going to talk about is you reduce your competition. You rise above the competition. You don't really have to play the competition game anymore. There's nothing to compete against because people choose you over your competitors. You don't even have to discuss them. If you look at your sales numbers, right, we're talking, say, conversions. Let's take a look at your conversations that you're having. How many conversations turn into sales or turn into clients? Those percentages are going to go up, right? So all your metrics are going to improve because of your lead quality going up. And we've already talked about thought leadership, but when I talk about thought leadership, I'm not just talking about expertise, but somebody who's taken their expertise and turned that into true thought leadership. You lead your industry. You're the go-to authority. So that's the true power of personal branding, is becoming that thought leader. If you're a keynote speaker or you want to speak more when you're positioned as the go-to thought leader in your space, it'll naturally turn into more speaking opportunities. Now, I have many colleagues and friends, a lot of which are in the National Speakers Association, and the biggest fear that they have is invisibility, right? So building a personal brand like this creates visibility. It overcomes that fear that they have. Or just wondering, how can people find me? Like, instead of being the best kept secret where people don't know that you exist, being able to be discovered, having people find you. That's what personal branding can really do for you. Also, it makes sure that you have credibility. So when people find you or they're referred to you, they find your website, they see your videos, there's trust that's built, you have credibility. And especially when they search on ChatGPT and they're recommended to you, and they search on Google and they're recommending you again, that's a lot of credibility to own that category. Another big advantage is that everything you create in this regard is evergreen. Evergreen isn't an evergreen webinar, where that's a term that's common, so I'll just address it. You create a webinar that is your sales video, right? And then you pay to send traffic to it. And they call it evergreen because you can just keep using that webinar over and over and over. But it's only because you keep sending paid traffic to it. What I mean by evergreen is you post a piece of content somewhere and it continues to get viewed over and over and over. Without any paid traffic, it continues to bring in leads for you. So the true value of evergreen content is the opposite of social media. With social media, let's say you post something to Facebook or LinkedIn, and even if it goes viral, right, it only lasts for about a week, and then it fizzles out and it's not getting any more views. So you've got to post something new. Then a week later, something else. Every week you're just posting something new, or every day you're just posting something new. But if you look back at your posts a week ago and prior, none of it's getting viewed. So you're just reinventing the wheel every single post. But when you create evergreen content, that will happen when you really create a true personal brand of thought leadership, is every piece of content builds on top of it. Something that you posted several years ago is still attracting new viewers and generating leads. So even if each little piece of content is bringing in a trickle of traffic, all those trickles eventually add up to a big fire hose of traffic, and that's how you're generating more leads than you can handle. So the big question that you definitely need to be able to answer is what separates a personal brand from a true thought leader. And in my episode, What is Thought Leadership?, I'll show you what it takes to become the go-to authority in your industry, what category ownership actually looks like. I'll show you examples. So that's the episode that you should watch next. I'll see you there.